Hello, everyone. Today I'm doing a clearing and activation around clearing all contracts of obligation that we have. So these are the places where we feel obligated to show up for somebody or do something, even though a part of ourself is like, no, I don't, this isn't what I want to do. This isn't where I want to be or who I want to be with or whatever, um, wherever it is that you feel obligated to do something. So we're going to clear those contracts. So again, this work is, I'm doing it on a collective level. If you would like to have a one-on-one session with me to clear things on a deeper level, um, yeah, the link to schedule and contact me is down in the descriptions. Please like and share this video so that, everybody can be clearing these contracts of obligations. With that being said, I've already created a sacred container around us and I've opened up the collective field. So I will go ahead and get started. And so just connecting in even deeper. So we're going to call up all the collective contracts of obligations, places where we feel um, obligated to all the false gods, all the aliens who have pretended to be God and have controlled and manipulated us, and who have created the chaos, and then created a contractual obligation with us to save us from them. So we're clearing out all those contracts, clearing out this negative alien energy. And it's like it cuts through our hearts, through our sacral, um, through our liver. It's just like this energy that goes through here and that creates this divide within ourselves. Uh, Pulling out all the loosh and miasma connected with these contracts. Um, and even the coloring seems to be like almost like you can see the kind of almost like this golden white light, but it's surrounded and tarnished with this almost amber like um, muddy type energy. So this um, covering of our sacred spark in these obligations, and everywhere that they're feeding off of our sacred spark, we're clearing, removing all cords and hook-ins and umbilical cords into our sacred heart space, our sacred souls. And we're clearing these contracts through all space, time, dimensions, realities, past, present, and future, and through all of our generational lineages, through our bloodlines. And clearing out, like I'm feeling as this energy is releasing, I'm feeling kind of like almost this sickening um, feeling in the stomach area. Um, so the places where like we've been poisoned with this energy, we're gonna flush out and remove any poisoning, any infection that they have put into our bodies through these contracts. And we're removing all consent, past, present, and future, implied and fully given consent to these contracts. We're releasing those, clearing those, and healing those, and filling that space with the true light of God. And I feel like they're putting in a new frequency, new harmonic energy through this space, through the um, especially through our belly buttons. So the plate like that, um, where they have like put their umbilical cord in place of our true umbilical cord to God. Do some healing around that space. Every place where it hooks in around that sacred space. And then we're going to start to clear the contracts of obligation around being subservient. So, any oaths and vows that we have created, that our ancestors created to be subservient to these false alien civilizations and false gods. We're removing those oaths and vows, those fealties and communities. Any blood oaths where we swore our allegiance to these false beings, those are being wiped out, erased, cleared. And these contracts are null and void because, again, we entered into a false contract. So they don't hold up in the court of God. Because again, when we're being controlled and manipulated and they're creating the situations to then create the contracts to save us from them, like we never had a full understanding of who they were and what they were doing. And so those contracts can be null and void and cleared through all space, time, dimensions, realities, through all our family generations, through all our bloodlines. And anywhere that we made our minds subservient to their version of reality. Um, buying into the false realities that they were creating versus the true organic reality. Clearing that. And I feel that coming through um, the left eye, through the temple of the eye. So even like the sacred feminine energy, the um, our intuition, um, our wisdom. So the feminine wisdom, the ability to see the truth of God. So everywhere we gave up our sacred sight, our sacred wisdom, as part of this being subservient and these contracts of obligations, we're going to clear those from our vision, clearing them from all the temples that we hold. So, the temple to the vision of God, the temple to the heart of God, the temple to the embodiment of the true God source. Like everywhere that we have those contractual overlays of the false, we're clearing those, and then they're going to plug us back into the God source timelines, the vision, the wisdom, the knowing, the embodiment, the rootedness. And as we remove these false overlays and connect back in, um, it's that we'll have a greater awareness of our cosmic source. That even though we embody life here on this planet, really being able to source and understand our multidimensionality. They're pulling out some implants around the eye. So clearing blocks to our vision. And as these overlays are starting to remove, or as they're being removed, they're going to start to clear out all soul contracts. So again, places where um, we felt obligated to give our souls to empower others versus holding on to that source within ourselves, our soul, our connection to the God source. So clearing all those soul contracts, all those places where we've been playing small, where we've been playing the victim, um, where we've been outsourcing God to other things, these external saviors, these external religious leaders, these external sources of government and law. So, like these removing all contracts to these civil and maritime laws that are not. They're not the cosmic laws. They're not the universal law. So, again, removing the obligations to those laws and reaffirming our laws back to the universal God source law. So civil law and maritime law, give power to a small select group, and they define, what's right and wrong, and they can change that whenever they are, or whenever they want to benefit themselves. Where universal law, it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what you do. These laws apply equally to everyone. They give us the commands on like how to be co-creators with the God source versus giving our power away to these external things. So clearing out all obligational contracts, oaths, and vows to these false laws, and reaffirming our connection to the universal laws. I feel this balancing now between feminine and masculine energy. And again, regardless of how you identify, what orientation you were birthed as, male, female, we hold both of those energies. So whether you're female, you have masculine and feminine energy. And so, it's really important to allow that balance in our system, to have that oneness within ourselves. And so now we're going to start to clear all contracts of obligations to corporations and governments that don't honor the true God source, or our divine soul blueprint, our divine essence. Government that doesn't serve the people, and only serves the few, like all of those obligations and contracts and oaths and vows and fealties and communities, like everywhere again where we're outsourcing to these things that are going to provide for us, provide safety, provide money, provide all these things, when in fact, like, it's a contract of enslavement to the government, to taxation, to this false money. Um, that just creates this looping karmic energy between ourselves and the government, and ourselves and these corporations, creating that rat race energy, where we're looping all the time, looping between having and poverty, um, versus true sourcing everything from ourselves, from our connection to the divine. So clearing all those contracts, a lot of that's being pulled out from like our third eye. So being able to see clearly what these organizations are. and being able to see which organizations like are truly aligned to God, and which ones are aligned to serving a small few. And I feel like this almost this overlay around our brains being ripped off, like this sh shredding of like the false mind, and realigning people to the true God source, which comes through here and connects us directly. So everything is heart centered, heart focused, but balanced with our solar plexus, our throats, our third eye, our crown, our root, like really allowing everything to be balanced and allowing that cosmic frequency to be encoded through our systems, finding balance and calm and a centeredness. And when we're in this contractual obligation, we're like everything is being sourced out here. So like it's chaos. It's this constant reaching for something outside of ourselves versus coming into center and allowing things to come to us, to flow, like to be received and transmuted and gifted out, and received and transmuted and gifted out, where it's not a reaching, it's a sending and a receiving. And now they're going to begin to clear all false marriage contracts. So these are places where, like, we have um, entered into contract with somebody who is not our divine partner. Who again, places where like we have looked outside of ourselves for safety, for money, for support, and gone into marriages that were not good. And then also these family contracted unions. So like this would have been um, where like two warring families came together to create um, a unified front. This would be things that like through royalty lineages, where you know usually the women, but also the men were forced into um, marriage contracts to bring empires together for one empire to protect another empire. And these money grabs, and so like that contracted that has bonded families together. So like they keep playing out um, these contractual obligations, which could show up in so many different ways, whether it's like repeated marriages to the same types of people, whether it's being indentured to them in other ways, again through work, through relationships, through soul contracts, through whatever means where, again, we feel obligated to show up, to give ourselves over and away to something or somebody else. So all those contracts, those false marriage contracts and bonds, and oaths and vows, and again, the fealties and communities that create these looping obligations through lifetimes, through family lines, through impoverishment, through um, even through like power families of like keeping that energy stuck there instead of being dispersed throughout the people. So all of those contracts and fealties and oaths and vows, falling out of the collective energy. And I feel this energy of like in the knees, of like getting up off of our knees and rising out of those obligations, out of that poverty, out of the enslavement to whatever we were bonded to or whoever we were bonded to. And again, clearing this through um, every generation, past, present, and future, through all the bloodlines, um, all of our lineages, past, present, future, through all dimensions, times, realities, through the eternal now. And recoding everybody, recoding the DNA, recoding our chakra system, our nervous system back to being that of um, true divine union, the sacred union, the partnership, the true connection. And and these are the unions that are sanctioned through the God source. Again, there's more clearing of these false contracts. And I feel a lot of them in um, kind of through the intestinal area, um, these places where like our source of breaking down food and nutrients and energy are being outsourced, given away to um, these outside beings to like feed and nourish something else instead of being able to hold on to our own power, our own energy, our own nutrients. And so creating this healing energy, this through our intestinal um, regions, these light codes, bringing that energy back in. So that's the sacred spiral. And the sacral spiral is being encoded to force out anything that tries to source our energy, source our codes, source our nutrients. So, it's removing that and bringing the energy back into us, bringing, back into looping into our sacral and our solar plexus. So balancing those two energies, like the creative, rooted energy with the heart centered solar plexus. So, that inner child, the true innocence that um, is part of the God source, the creation. And now they're clearing any contractual obligations to serving money as God. So this is the place where like we give money power, versus using it as a tool, making it important, making the pursuit of it important. So again, places where, we've where we'll feed into other systems and whether it's the governments, corporations, banks, um, retail, news outlets, entertainment, sporting things, everywhere where it's like, we feel obligated to give our money to these things, which again, money is power. So outsourcing and giving that obligation of giving, giving, giving until we have been depleted. And that there is no equal exchange where like that energy comes back to us. It's just going out and out and out. So clearing all those contracts of obligations to these um, false money gods, these symbols of what it means to be success or successful, um, what it means to be powered, like, and we're gonna start to bring that energy and that money and the tools of money and the goodness that can be created where like there's this reciprocal, which is again universal law of like, what I give out comes back to me, and what I receive gets transmuted and created into something that I can give out. So again, it's that toroidal field of what comes in goes out. Um, and so we're always constantly being nurtured and nurturing. And so any place where that flow of energy, the flow of our toroidal field is being taken, and all of that's being cleared, and our toroidal field is being re-energized with sacred codes, with the God source. And from that place of the God source, so that direct line between heaven and earth, so the potential and the creation, um, the the flow and the manifested reality. And so, the energy flows through that. So, the goes out, it goes into manifestation, it comes back in to be transmuted into energetic potential, and then goes back out. And so it's that flow. And along with that path of money, we're clearing out poverty from our body. So again, as we're being fed the energy of the God source and the Holy Mother Earth energy, it's clearing out poverty and recoding us to prosperity. So coding the nervous system. So our nervous system, our subconscious programming can hold us into poverty, no matter like what we're doing to change that. If that subconscious programming, our nervous system only feels comfortable when it's in poverty and strife, which again is that obligation, that contractual obligation to feel out of sorts, to feel like we have to send things out without receiving back in. That's in our nervous system, that's in our subconscious programming. So allowing yourself to say and clear and release all the places where we hold the consciousness of poverty, and releasing that, releasing all our oaths and vows to poverty, and recoding to the prosperity of the God source. So where all things are possible, where we are directly sourced, all of our inspiration, all of our wisdom, our knowledge, um, our gnosis, our knowing, our embodiment comes directly from God. Again, I see a kind of a darkened energy. And it's almost like it's going through our central line. So again, trying to create this separation from the God source and from the earthly mother. So clearing those places where there's been this false energy that's created a separation. So it's all the places where we separate ourselves from God, from the earthly mother and from each other. So again, the more that they keep us distracted and keeping us as the enemies, it creates the separation, which again then forces us to um, source and feed outside of ourselves, to try and reconnect, which is what is already divinely within us. So coming back to that sacral center, allowing that central channel to um, be toned and nurtured, um, with the God source, with the inner sacral union or sacred union. So again, bringing our feminine energy and our masculine energies to the center. Um, bringing all of the polar opposites within us into that center channel where we're neither reactive one way or the other. We're not um, all good or all bad. We're in this neutral place and we're observing and we're using our inner knowing, our inner connection, our the silence to know what direction do I go? What do I choose? What's really in alignment with me so that we're choosing from that place of centered. And again, always anchoring our nervous system back to that divine channel so that our nervous system can be calm. Our nervous system can figure out what does it need. Does it need to go into fight mode? Does it need to go into flight? What does it actually need? And kind of going back to those two of like, and then the rest digest that neutral place. And from that neutral place, removing our contractual oaths and obligations to the veil of forgetfulness. Again, the places where we forget our divine source, we forget who we truly are, which is one of the ways that we give our power away. If we can't remember who we are, um, then we're having to source outside of ourselves to have a reflection of who we are versus an inner knowing of who we are. So clearing that veil of forgetfulness to whatever level is proper for you. So if you've already been working on this, it's taking it to a higher level to help you truly see who you are. And if you've only just begun to work on it, or you're just realizing that there is this veil of forgetfulness, it'll gradually open over time, for you to have a greater and greater awareness of yourself as you continue to work on holding this energy, holding this balance center. Let's see if there's anything else. Um, they're working on balancing the left and right hemisphere of the brain. So again, part of the veil of forgetfulness is within the separation of the hemispheres within our brains instead of allowing them to work together as a unified field. So again, we need logic and creativity. We need these two energies, and they, when we're in harmony, when we're in alignment, they work together. The intuition with the actions to take. So it's really important as we balance the center line and the energy is flowing properly through us. Um, our the hemispheres of our brain become one. And that's one of the things that Jesus talked about. Um, that the two become one. So the masculine, feminine become one. Um, the two hemispheres of the brain become one, and then that oneness is the sacred unity. And so that's like it's an inner thing within each of us, of balancing those energies, um, balancing the polarities and the dualities within us, so that we're solely sourced in that central point, in that neutrality, that oneness. And so feel that oneness anchoring in. Feel the calm of being centered and focused. And we're going to begin to allow the water elementals to clear our fields, our energetic bodies, our physical bodies, of any residue left over from these contractual obligations, these false unions, of all these places where we've outsourced our energy to others. I feel this crystalline, snowy white energy moving through the fields, kind of toning in this calming, quiet energy. This sacral center. And anytime that we notice ourselves falling out of alignment, easily being able to come back to that center, that devotion to the divine within. And with that, we're going to bring today's session to a close, anchoring this energy into our root chakra and our sacral, or not our sacral, our grounding platform about 1.5 feet below us. Anchoring this all in, and then we're going to seal ourselves up in the God seal, into the God source energy, and ground that down. All work done, and so it is, and so it must be. And with that, I step out of the field, returning everybody's energy to them, receiving my energy back. And I thank everyone for being here. And again, if you want more of that, like one-on-one work, the information is in the description on how to connect with me. And thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing all of us to clear these contractual obligations that keep us looping. The more that we can do this work individually and collectively, the easier it is to start to see reality for what it is, and for the beauty that we can actually create here. Like, this planet is beautiful, and we get to continue to create it in its pure beauty. So thank you. Please again share this video with others. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.